Okay, I think we are at 10:01. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good morning. I am Chi Elder, Chair of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau Advisory Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order at 10:01 a.m. This meeting is being held on December 7th, 2022 via WebEx teleconference and webcast pursuant to Government Code Section 11133. This meeting is being held by teleconference with no physical locations. I would like to ask our WebEx moderator to please explain the format of this meeting.
This is the moderator. When the request public comment, we will open up the Q&A feature in WebEx and we will display the instructions on the screen each time. And those instructions are on the screen now for your reference. If you would like to participate in public comment whenever it's requested, just click on the question mark inside of the square, which is typically...
I'm not sure if it's mine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I will start with the instructions again. So if you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen. And when the text box appears, type the word comment. And before hitting the send button, make sure it goes out to all panelists. And then when prompted, click the unmute me button. You can also raise your hand by hovering your mouse or cursor over your name, which appears in the participants panel. And when you hover your mouse or cursor over your name, an outline of a hand will appear. You will click on that to raise your hand. For those calling in, you can raise your virtual hand by pressing *3 to raise your hand. And for those calling in, you can also press *3 to lower your hand as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 of the agenda. At this time, I would like to ask Angela to call roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning, everyone. I will start with Chi Elder.
Present.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Present.
Wendy Hatch.
Present.
Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Present.
James Moore.
Present. Present.
Thank you. Denise Nellison.
Present.
Great. With 6 members present, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Angela. Item number 3 of the agenda. I would like to ask the committee members and Bureau staff to introduce themselves. I am Chi Elder, Chair of the Advisory Committee. I am based in San Diego, and I am a public member appointed by the Senate Rules Committee. Thank you. And next, Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Good morning. My name is Bertha Sanchez Hayden, Vice Chair of the Professional Fiduciary Advisories Committee. I'm a public member appointed by the governor representing the government sector or public nonprofit sector in Los Angeles, California.
Thank you. Elizabeth Ichikawa.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Ichikawa. I am the supervising court investigator in Solano County.
Thank you. James Moore.
Good morning. My name is Jim Moore. I am a professional fiduciary here in Sacramento.
Thank you. Denise Nellison.
Good morning. I'm Denise Nellison, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, retired.
Thank you. Wendy Hatch.
I'm Wendy Hatch, a California licensed professional fiduciary here in Long Beach, California.
Thank you. Rebecca May.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca May. I'm the Bureau Chief for the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. I was appointed by the governor in 2017.
Thank you. Helen Joffrey.
Perfect. Good morning. My name is Helen Joffrey. I am PFB counsel.
Thank you. And last but not least, Angela Quadra.
I am Angela Quadra, the program analyst for the Bureau.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4 of the agenda, please allow me to briefly address this agenda item. California law prohibits advisory committee members from discussing or taking action on any matter not on the agenda. However, this item offers an opportunity to the public to comment on items that are not listed on today's agenda. Please be aware that public comment during this agenda item should provide information to the advisory committee members and is not meant to be a discussion between the advisory committee and the public. Though this may seem at times like advisory committee members or the Bureau staff are not being responsive, following these guidelines is critical to ensuring the rules of the Open Meeting Act are followed. Before the committee asks for public comments, I ask individuals making comments to not discuss pending complaints, pending licensing applications, or pending disciplinary actions that may come before the Bureau's legal counsel. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications by potentially providing information to the Bureau's legal counsel outside of the administrative record in a case. The committee strongly asks that you also respect the privacy of others by not revealing the names, other personal information, and conditions of any individuals involved in any case or complaint. The advisory committee can receive comments regarding the Bureau's processes in general, but it cannot receive comments on specific cases. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you may request that item be considered for a future meeting agenda. However, a request does not obligate the Bureau to fulfill that request. If your comment is related to an item on today's agenda, please wait until we get to that agenda item. Comments at this time are only for items not on the agenda. To allow the committee sufficient time to conduct its full schedule of business, public comments will be limited to 2 minutes apiece. Please do not duplicate or repeat the comments of a previous speaker. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. I'm opening up the Q&A. Oh, sorry, it was open. Thank you, co-moderator. The instructions will be on the screen for your reference. And those instructions are, if you would like to participate in the Q&A or the public comment period, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field that appears. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking or pressing the send button. And for those who are calling in, you can press *3 to raise your hands. If you are logged in and prefer to raise your hand, just hover your cursor or mouse over your name in the participant panel and click on the outline of a hand that appears. I do not see any requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Moving on to agenda number 5. Rebecca, would you please read the Bureau's mission statement?
To protect consumers through licensing, education, and enforcement of the Professional Fiduciaries Act by promoting and upholding competency and ethical standards across the profession.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm not sure if it's my sound. You sound a little low or a little muffled.
This is legal, same here.
Okay, thank you.
Shall I repeat the mission statement and speak more clearly? Can you hear me now?
I think you're clear. You sound, yeah, I think maybe you just needed to be a little closer to the mic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comment from committee members? Okay, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment, and send it to all panelists. Or those calling in can press *3 to raise their virtual hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Rebecca. Okay, moving on to item number 6 of the agenda. Are there any suggested edits to the September 14th, 2022 meeting minutes by the committee members? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Denise Nelson. I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Denise. Is there a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
I'm sorry. Would you please state your name also?
I, Berta Sanchez Hayden, second the motion.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion from the committee members? Okay. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, type comment in the text field that appears, and click send and make sure it goes to all panelists. If you're calling in, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 from your phone. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
Thank you.
Okay. And Angela, would you please repeat the motion provided, followed by a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. A vote of yes will be to post the minutes to the Bureau's website as written, as I call your name. Chi Elder,
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden,
Yes.
Wendy Hatch,
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa,
Yes.
James Moore, James Moore, Denise Nellison.
Yes.
It seems we may have lost James Moore.
This is the co-moderator. I have re-promoted James Moore. I believe there was a disconnect.
Okay, James, I'll repeat the motion. There were no suggested edits to the committee meeting notes from September 14th of 2022. So the motion is to approve the minutes as written to be posted to the Bureau's website. If you agree with that, would you please reply with a yes?
Yes, I agree.
Great, thank you. We have 6 members that have voted to approve the minutes as written, so these will be posted to the website.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, moving on to item number 7. I would like to invite Yvonne Durantes to present an update on behalf of the Department of Consumer Affairs Executive Office.
I think she might be in the attendees box.
This is the moderator. Yvonne, you've been promoted.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide an update on the Department of Consumer Affairs today. So I will begin with an update on the new DCA staff. We are excited to announce that the governor recently appointed leaders to the DCA Board and Bureau Relations team. Melissa Gear is now serving as DCA's new Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, and she joined the department on October 3rd. On October 14th, Yvonne Durantes-Giles, myself, began serving as the new Assistant Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations. She previously served as the Senior Emergency Services Coordinator at the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services since 2022, and a Policy Analyst and Task Force Coordinator since 2019. She was an Executive Fellow at Cal OES from 2018 to 2019. We are very excited to have the new BBR team in place to serve and assist our board and bureaus. We also are pleased to announce the appointment of Kathleen Nichols as Chief of the Division of Investigation. She was sworn in on December 5th. Ms. Nichols has extensive law enforcement experience with over 26 years of investigating and supervisory experience. Her experience will assist with bringing consistency between the units within the division. The department will begin the process to fill the deputy chief position in the Health Quality Investigation Unit as soon as possible. Please help us in welcoming Ms. Nichols in her new role. Appointment information on how to apply for membership in a consumer affairs board. And so the first step to becoming a board, committee, or advisory committee member is to submit an application to the office of the appropriate appointing official. And so there are 4 appointing offices, which include number 1, governor appointment, number 2, Speaker of the Assembly appointment, number 3, Senate Rules Committee appointment, and number 4, Advisory Council or Committee appointment. For details on vacancies and who appoints members to a particular board, please review the Department of Consumer Affairs board member roster. And for more information on activities and membership for a particular board, please visit the board's website. Links to the board and bureau websites are available on the DCA Board and Bureaus page. And so all board and bureau appointees under the Department of Consumer Affairs are subject to term limits with grace periods of varying lengths. Most members can serve up to 2 consecutive 4-year terms and 1 year grace period. However, appointments requiring confirmation by the Senate only serve a 60-day grace period. Only governor appointees on the board require Senate confirmation. For professional fiduciaries board, the term limits consist of 2 consecutive 4-year terms and a grace period of 1 year. And so the contact information for the 3 primary appointing offices are available on our board member resource center. And so those 3 primary appointing offices are the Office of Governor Newsom, Senate Rules Committee, and the Speaker of the Assembly. Once an application is submitted, the governor's office will handle the remaining process. Moving on to an update on DCA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee, Director Kimberly Kirkmeyer established the department's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee, DEI, to guide the department in its equity strategy initiatives and action plans. The DEI committee held its kickoff meeting on November 9th and will convene its 2nd meeting in January of 2023. The committee will focus on 3 core areas, which are number 1, workforce, to recruit and retain diverse talent, recruitment, hiring, onboarding. Number 2, workplace. So actively educate leadership and staff to increase awareness and create an inclusive culture, which includes employee engagement, communications, education, and training. And number 3, marketplace, to serve consumers, applicants, and licensees with sensitivity to their diverse backgrounds and perspectives. And this will include multilingual outreach and access expanding entry into the professional, legislative, and regulatory actions. Moving on to an update on our strategic planning. So in accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order, strategic plans in effect July 2023 and beyond must be developed or updated to more effectively advance equity and drive outcomes that increase opportunity for all. And so in response, DCA is revising its strategic planning process to incorporate more inclusive public engagement, data analysis, and embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, into the strategic planning process. Over the coming months, the DEI committee will inform the strategic planning process. And by 2023, March, DCA will begin implementing the revised process and working with the boards in updating existing strategic plans or developing new strategic plans. An update on our new strategic plan and logo. On November 2nd of 2022, DCA released its 2022 to 2027 strategic plan. And additionally, with unveiling the new strategic plan, the department also released a new logo. And this plan and the new logo represent the next chapter and future of the department. Dr. Kirkmeyer stated that consumer protection continues to guide our mission and priorities. Our department holds itself to a high standard in providing outstanding support services, oversight, and innovative solutions to those who regulate California professionals and vocations, so that through this partnership, all Californians are informed, empowered, and protected. The department's strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as our shared dedication to each and every consumer, is built into the framework of the plan. The new logo is very representative of DCA. The shield represents the department's strong and long-standing protection mandate. The state represents all 40 million Californians. DCA has pledged and are honored to serve. The star represents consumer protection as DCA's true guiding principle, the department's own North Star. The Office of Public Affairs will be providing more information in the coming weeks on the implementation of the new logo. Moving on to an update on our Promise campaign. DCA is excited to take part.
Is it frozen or is it just my screen?
She's muted on my end.
Okay. Yvonne, are you still there?
Are you able to hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, my microphone seemed to have dropped off, but it's all clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So board members should have received an email this week from DCA, our Promise co-chairs, Chief Deputy Director Christine Lally and Melissa Gear, with information on how to give. The campaign allows Californians to donate to nonprofit or nonprofits of their choice through December. And with your assistance, DCA hopes to continue its tradition of generosity and caring for our communities through this year's campaign. Please assist us in encouraging all members and staff to donate. Regarding board member travel.
I'm not able to hear you.
This is the moderator. We can't hear you, Yvonne. You can also connect your audio via the audio through the telephone, which just click on the top left fifth option, audio and video, and you click on switch audio and a pop-up window will appear and it'll prompt you to either enter your number or you can click call in. Oh, thank you, co-moderator. The instructions are on the screen. And members of the public, thank you for your patience as we troubleshoot this technical difficulty. And you would have to unmute
Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Hopefully this is the winner. Okay. So resuming on update on board member travel. As travel resumes again, it's important to remember that all state travel arrangements must be made through DCA's approved travel agency, the Cal Travel Store or Concur. All board members and staff must use the most economical fares possible when traveling by air on official state business. Typically, this will be the Southwest Wanna Getaway option. However, there may be additional charges if changes are made to the flight. Flight changes to the date and time for personal convenience are not approved or a justified reason, and the traveler will be responsible for any associated charges. If you have any travel questions, please contact the Board and Bureau Relations team. Required board member training reminders. As 2022 comes to a close, it is a perfect time to make sure that you have completed all of your required board member trainings and submitted your certificates of completion to our executive officers at DCA. Board members are required to complete board member orientation training, or also referred to as BMOT, within the first year of appointment or reappointment, ethics training within 6 months of appointment and repeat every 2 years, sexual harassment prevention within the first year and every 2 years, and defensive driver training within the first year and every 4 years. These trainings are offered multiple times a year in various formats for your convenience. If you have any questions or need additional information, please contact our BBR team. Partnerships with the State Controller's Office. DCA is partnering with the State Controller's Office to share information with consumers and certain licensees about unclaimed property program. State law requires banks, insurance companies, corporations, and other entities to report and submit their customers' property to the SCO after a period of inactivity, generally 3 years, and many DCA licensees will benefit from this partnership as it will educate them about their responsibility to report unclaimed property and assist with compliance. Additionally, the program is a great resource for all consumers to locate their unclaimed property. Thank you for this opportunity. DCA and the BBR team look forward to working with you all, and thank you for bearing through with all of the technical difficulties.
Thank you, Yvonne. And that happens to, I think, almost all of us. Any comment from the committee members?
I'm not a committee member, but I have a comment. if you'll take my comment now. This is Rebecca May, the Bureau Chief. I just wanted to remind everyone that their appointments expire January 1st of 2023. And for this particular advisory committee, there's a 1-year grace period, so you can continue to serve through 2023 until hopefully you're reappointed. I just really have enjoyed working with this group. I highly, from my own purposes, I really hope that everyone will reapply to their appointing body. And if you've got any questions about that process, you can certainly give me a call or reach out to Board of Bureau Relations. I think that they will probably be reaching out to the individual members in the next few weeks to also encourage reappointments. But I just wanted to say that out loud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comments?
I just want to emphasize.
Sorry.
I just want to emphasize, please feel free to reach out with any questions, or feel free to visit our webpage also for additional information or for a repeat of the different steps. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field that appears. And for those who are calling in, press *3 to raise your virtual hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Yvonne, and congratulations on your new appointment as well. Okay, item number 8 on the agenda. I would like to invite Harmony DiFilippo from the Department of Consumer Affairs Budget Office to present the budget update.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Harmony DiFilippo, and I am the budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm going to provide the advisory committee with an update on the budget, and I will speak to agenda item 8 and the documents that are included. I would like to start with a quick overview of the fiscal year 22-23 FM3 expenditure projections on page 8. Do you have that slide included?
Moderator, would you please show that slide?
This is the co-moderator. This is the slide that we have available for agenda item 8. If we need to upload something, we could possibly do that or display somebody else's screen.
I think I'll speak to the documents, and they'll be available on the Professional Fiduciary Bureau's website. So this report includes the 21-22 actual expenditures compared to the 22-23 budgeted and projected expenditures. Over this 2-year period, costs have increased. However, we are still early in the budget process and should have a better idea on expenditures at the next meeting. For fiscal year 22-23, the Bureau is projected to spend approximately $711,000, of which $434,000 is expended on personal services costs and $276,000 on operating expenses and equipment, OE&E. So next I'm going to speak to page 9, which is a review of the fund condition. So the attached fund condition statement is based off of the 2022 Budget Act and has been updated with fiscal month 3 projections. This also includes 2021-22 prior year actual revenues and expenditures, as well as out years, giving you a 5-year view. I will start with the first section, which is revenues. The Bureau began 21-22 with a fund balance of $345,000 and collected $613,000 in revenue, with $95,000 from initial license fees, $503,000 from license renewals, and $15,000 was collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. For 22-23 current year, the Bureau projects revenues of $611,000 with approximately $96,000 projected from initial license fees and $508,000 from renewal fees and $7,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. You will notice the revenue is projected static in budget year and out years. The next section is expenditures. The Bureau's 22-23 current year expenditures are projected based on FM3 projections at $711,000. The fund condition projects ongoing expenditures with a 3% growth factor increasing per year. The fund condition shows the Bureau fully expending its appropriation ongoing. To the extent the Bureau does not fully extend its appropriation, any savings remain in the Bureau's fund will help the reserve balance. The Bureau notes future legislation or other events could require the Bureau to request additional resources through the annual budget process, which would increase cost pressures on the fund. The last section is the fund balance reserve. The fund balance reserve is the amount of funds remaining at the end of any given fiscal year. The Bureau's fund has a statutory fund balance limit of 24 months, but typically 3 to 6 months is considered sufficient. As previously discussed, the Bureau's fund balance reserve is currently declining due to a structural imbalance. This is due to increased expenditures outweighing the revenue. The 22-23 structural imbalance is currently projected at approximately $152,000 and is anticipated to increase and accelerate in 23-24, which will cause the fund to become insolvent in 23-24. As previously noted, the Bureau's costs are projected to increase from costs associated with the new legislative mandates established by AB 1194, which is drastically exacerbating the structural deficit. The Bureau will need to take actions to reduce or eliminate the structural imbalance to remain solvent. The Bureau has 3 options to reduce the structural imbalance. 1, reduce spending. 2, increase revenues. Or 3, a combination of 1 and 2. These are the only options DCA can offer to address the Bureau's fund. If additional savings can't be identified, then the only option is to raise fees. I know Chi Elder had asked at our previous meeting if there were possible alternatives, such as a tiered fee schedule with the AG's office for cases related to AB 1194. This is not something that DCA can answer. This would be something that the Bureau would need to discuss with the AG's office. The Bureau further notes existing license fee types currently being assessed may be increased through regulations, which could eliminate the existing structural imbalance. Regulatory fee change proposals typically take 18 to 24 months to promulgate. Bureau staff has been working with the DCA Budget Office to identify possible actions to reduce or eliminate the structural imbalance and ensure the Bureau remains solvent and able to fully meet its licensing and enforcement mandates. Bureau staff will continue to update the advisory committee on its findings and strategies for addressing the structural imbalance as appropriate at future advisory committee meetings. And that concludes my presentation. I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comment from committee members? I think if I would like to request to get an update on what the budget office advises in terms of having adjustment to the AG the AG charges, or maybe that would be something that the AG office would be able to, provide guidance on as well. But if we can have follow-up, from those two offices, I think that would be helpful. And this is Chi Elder. Thank you.
This is Rebecca May. We can follow up with the AG's office to see.
Thank you, Rebecca.
What they recommend.
Any other comments from committee members? Okay. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type comment in the text field. Those who are calling in can raise their hand by pressing *3 from your phone. I do have an individual identified as Jerry Desmond. I'm going to request to unmute your microphone. Give me just a moment.
Bureau Chief, Commission Chair, and Commissioners Jerry Desmond with the Professional Fiduciary Association of California on the budget condition. A couple of comments that we have. A is, I think, as the commission members are well aware, the current fees that are being paid by our licensed population are quite significant in terms of the amounts themselves, especially as compared to other boards, bureaus, and commissions in the Department of Consumer Affairs. And we realize that to some extent is because the licensed population is not huge. It's whatever in the hundreds, not in the thousands. So with that, we are concerned with the potential increases in licensure fees, both in terms of the current licensed population and the impact on their businesses, and also in terms of potential barriers to entry, in terms of those that we hope to increase the licensed population. And we know that is an objective of the Bureau and an objective of PFAC as well, I think, of all of us. And so want to highlight it as a very, a high significant issue for the industry and our association, and to encourage that as options are considered, such as reductions, increases, combinations of the two, that as everybody looks at the obligations and new obligations being placed on the Bureau through legislation, that there could be, in some instances, situations where there were unintended consequences in terms of Bureau obligations, and that to look at the, what those burdens are and how best to structure those, even if legislation is necessary to, protect consumers, but also recognize, where efficiencies can be obtained. Thank you.
This is the moderator. No further requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Mr. Desmond, for your comment. And thank you, Harmony, for the update. Moving on to item number 9 of the agenda, I would like to invite Daryl Holloway from the Department of Consumer Affairs Legislative Office to present the legislative update.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Daryl Holloway from the Division of Legislative Affairs at DCA, and I'm here to present on some of the bills that are going to be, that got signed this year and are going to affect the Professional Fiduciary Bureau. I'd like to start just backtracking a little bit to some questions that were asked at the September meeting of the advisory committee. So I'm going to start there. There were a couple questions on Assembly Bill 1663 and a couple questions on Senate Bill 1024. So in reference to 1663, it was asked if it would include private or professional fiduciaries, and if it included, or if it was applicable to limited or LPS conservatorships or probate conservatorships. 1663 does apply to professional and private fiduciaries if they are appointed a conservator or seek to be appointed as a conservator. It also applies to limited and probate conservatorships 1663 would not apply to LPS conservatorships. It was asked, what is the supporter's liability involved with AB 1663? That the answer to this question is laid out in section 21001 of the Welfare and Institution Code, and specifically section 21002, which reads, a supporter is bound by all existing obligations and prohibitions otherwise applicable by law to protect adults with disabilities and the elderly from fraud, abuse, neglect, coercion, or mistreatment. There were some questions about the Judicial Council and what role and responsibilities they have involving Senate Bill 1024. The Judicial Council's responsibility to implement Senate 102 or to implement Senate Bill 1024. The Judicial Council is the policy-making branch of the judicial branch of the state of California, and they are setting rules and policies that are that the court system has to follow. So it is on them. They are responsible for creating and revising any forms or rules necessary to implement this bill. And then it was asked who would determine if the Judicial Council has implemented the bill. Again, like I said, the Judicial Council is part of the judicial branch, and they are a separate and co-equal branch of the California government. They're very high up, and there are no other branches that are overseeing them or regulating them. So I'm going to jump into the current bills that were passed this legislative session, starting with AB 1663 again. Since our last meeting, the legislative calendar has ended. Typically at the end of a legislative session, there's a big rush to get bills across the finish line, and there'll be lots of amendments. And this is an example of one of those situations. This bill, AB 1663, was amended twice since I reported on it to you guys last time. So it does read a little bit different. So in Assembly Bill 1663, it's about protective proceedings. And this bill will revise how probate conservatorships are investigated, established, terminated, and emphasizes the preference of the conservator selected by the conservatee. It requires the Judicial Council to establish a conservatorship alternative program within each self-help center, establish voluntary supported decision-making as a way to help individuals with disabilities, and requires the State Council on Developmental Disabilities to administer a statewide supported decision-making technical assistance program. It revises who may serve as conservator for individuals with developmental disabilities and adds requirements for supporters and supported decision-making agreements and encourages their use to the maximum extent possible for those under conservatorship. Jumping down to Assembly Bill 2841, this bill is about disqualification from voting. Just a little background, existing law requires a county election official to cancel a person's voter registration in certain circumstances. This includes when a person is deemed mentally incompetent upon proof that the person is presently imprisoned for conviction of a felony, and when a person fails to respond to an address verification mailed by the election official and does not attempt to vote in the next two federal general elections. So this bill becomes effective January 1 of 2024, and it requires the clerk of the Superior Court in each county to notify the Secretary of State each month of findings by the court regarding a person's competency to vote and the number of court proceedings related to the determination of a person's competency to vote. The bill requires the Secretary of State upon receipt of identifying information for the affected person, to send this information to the appropriate county officials who must proceed to cancel the person's registration or notify the person that their right to vote has been terminated. The bill requires the election official to provide notice of the intent to cancel the person's registration between 10 and 30 days before cancellation. It also requires the Secretary of State to post a report on their website each month showing the number of disqualifications and restorations of voting rights that occurred in each county. Jumping down to Senate Bill 1005, this is about conservatorships and the sale of a personal residence. This bill revises the provisions authorizing the sale of a conservatee's present or former personal residence or other real or personal property of the estate to specifically include the power to partition or bring an action to partition the personal residence or other real or personal property in the estate. It also subjects the partition of the conservatee's present or former personal residence to the same conditions that apply to the sale of the residence. On to Senate Bill 1024. This is involving the replacement of an incapacitated or deceased professional fiduciary. Commencing January 1, 2024, this bill authorizes the conservator, agent under power of attorney, representative of the estate, trustee of a trust, or interested person to petition for the appointment of a professional fiduciary practice administrator to act as a temporary professional fiduciary when a professional fiduciary either becomes incapacitated or dies and a vacancy exists. The bill expands the definition of professional fiduciary to make these provisions applicable to the professional fiduciary practice administrators. This clarifies that professional fiduciary practice administrators are professional fiduciaries and are regulated by the Professional Fiduciary Bureau. On to the last bill, Senate Bill 1495. This is an omnibus bill from the Senate Committee on Business, Professions, and Economic Development. The intent of this bill is just to make some minor technical, non-substantive changes to the Business or Professions Code, but it does incorporate some changes into the Professional Fiduciary Act. Those changes specify that the Professional Fiduciary Bureau is required to maintain records that include the name of the licensee's current conservatees, wards, principals under a durable power of attorney for healthcare, or principals under a durable power of attorney for finances, and the names of the trusts and estates that they currently administer, whether the case is court supervised or not. It also expands the annual reporting requirements that professional fiduciaries must make to the Professional Fiduciary Bureau to include the name of their current conservatees, wards, principals under durable power of attorney for healthcare, or principals under durable power of attorney for finances, and the name of the trusts and decedents' estates currently administered by the licensees, whether the case is court supervised or not. This report must include court names, court locations, and case numbers where applicable. That's the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them now.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from committee members? Okay, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen. And the text field that appears, type the word comment and make sure it goes to all panelists before you click send. For those calling in, you can press *3 from your phone to raise your virtual hand. I see no request. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Daryl, for the update.
No problem.
Moving on to...
See everyone for the next meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10 of the agenda. Rebecca, would you please present the Bureau updates?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So my update today is fairly brief. So barring any objections, I thought I'd just run through it and then we can take questions and comments from the advisory committee and the public at the end. The application and licensing and enforcement statistics are all in the materials if you want to follow along with me. Is it possible, moderator, to have the statistics up on the screen? 2 pages down. I think it's the last one. There we go. Thank you. So following along with me, we have, so this is a snapshot in time between July 1st and September 30th. So it's just the first quarter of the fiscal year for 2022-23. Since July 1st, 2008, the inception of the Bureau, we have issued 1,335 licenses. As of September 30th, there are 840 active licensees. During that time frame, the Bureau received 29 initial applications and issued 10 initial licenses. The processing time for applications that are received that are complete for quarter one, July through September, it took 35 days from receipt of the complete application to providing approval for the licensee to sit for the exam. And then for the applicant to sit for the exam. And then upon passing the exam, 15 days from passing the exam to the issuance of a license. During this first quarter, the Bureau processed 189 renewals, and those averaged about 14 days. Moving on to enforcement statistics. Again, fiscal year, the first quarter, July 1st through September 30th, the Bureau received 36 complaints. The Bureau closed 52 complaints. The average days to close for those complaints that were closed was 155. The end of this quarter, the Bureau had 79 complaints pending. The Bureau issued 0 citations this quarter and initiated 4 cases with the Attorney General's office. Moving on to outreach, I have no outreach events to report this time. As always, if there is an event you think would be a good fit for the Bureau to attend, please email us. The newsletter was scheduled to go out this month, but given competing priorities, it will likely be going out next month in January. As always, if there's information you think would be helpful to see in the newsletter, please do not hesitate to email your suggestions to the Bureau. For the strategic plan, it has been drafted and is now being finalized internally. As you know, this new plan will cover 2023 to 2027 and provides a roadmap guiding the Bureau toward measurable and effective outcomes. I anticipate it'll be published and made public in January. When that happens, it'll be posted to the Bureau's website and a notice will go out to our interested parties list. And following up on the department's update earlier at this meeting, the Bureau will work with the department on edits next year to the strategic plan to ensure that it meets new diversity, equity, and inclusion guidelines. Moving on to sunset review. So we've talked about this at the last few minutes. So as you know, the Bureau is undergoing the sunset review process, which gives the legislature the opportunity to take an in-depth look at the Bureau in order to determine whether the Bureau is adequately meeting its consumer protection mandate and if the Bureau should continue operating. The Bureau has prepared a draft report detailing all aspects of the Bureau, including its licensing and enforcement functions, and addressing all the issues it believes the legislature can help with. The draft is currently under review by the Governor's office. It is due to the legislature on January 3rd and will be made public at that time. The legislature will then schedule a public hearing next year for the legislators to discuss the Bureau, and I will be there to testify on our behalf. The hearing has not yet been scheduled, but will probably be held in March or April. After the hearing, one of the committees charged with the Bureau's oversight will author a bill to extend the Bureau's sunset and make any other statutory changes it deems necessary. I will continue to provide updates at each advisory committee meeting as we move through the sunset process this next year. So website updates. So one of the goals of our strategic plan is to ensure that the Bureau's website provides useful, clear, concise information. To that end, we have recently removed quite a bit of old information that was either obsolete or unhelpful. New applications for retired and inactive license types should be posted to the website by next week in anticipation of the Bureau offering this new license status starting January 1, 2023. And we also took Ms. Elder's suggestion from the last meeting to post the SME advertisement. That should be up on the website next week as well. So this concludes my update. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comment from committee members?
Hi, this is Denise Nelson. I just, I got a little discouraged by the financial scenario. And I don't know how we could say that we're adequately meeting the mandate if we are going to be losing money every year, and if we are still so slow in going through all of the complaints. And so I don't know, I just wonder if this meeting with the legislature could be a way that we could advocate in a really strong way for some other appropriation, special appropriation, or whatever, seeing how unique our situation is as a small entity.
I fully agree with you. I think that Sunset Review provides a really valuable opportunity for the Bureau to present the issues that it sees, certainly fiscally, that the legislature will absolutely pick up on that. The good thing, and if there's anything good to be said about these are fiscal projections that the budget office makes. And so when we look at future numbers, that helps us make the decisions today to right the ship. So to proverbially say, I have had, prior to my experience with the Bureau, I worked for the Department of Consumer Affairs, similar to Daryl's role. So I have a pretty good understanding of Sunset Review. And I think that downturns or when the budget office predicts that we are, going to go insolvent if the revenues come in at a certain amount and expenditures are a certain amount, this is common. So I don't think that the Bureau is alone in probably struggling in this financial way. As we've discussed many times, we are a special fund entity, so we don't draw money from the general fund. I don't know that is necessarily a policy that would change, but all these things will be pointed out in our report and certainly up for discussion with the legislature in the spring. So thank you. I appreciate your concerns and I share them. Thank you.
This is Chielder. I also want to just comment on the sunset review as well, and the legislative hearing in March or April. And if there is anything that the advisory committee can support you with, Rebecca, please let us know. And I guess my question is, do the members of the Sunset Review Committee, do they have those fiscal projections as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything that we provide at the advisory committee, like this is all public information. Obviously, we're having this in a public forum. The sunset report is very detailed. Not just, I mean, it goes way beyond the information that we provide at the meetings. I can forward the last sunset report, which came out in 2018. So you get kind of a flavor of the level of detail, but this is all going to be very clear to the legislature, the financial situation that the Bureau is under. So, I mean, thankfully we've been in the black. For the most part, we have been in the black for multiple years now. And so I think we've been as fiscally responsible as we can be. We did in the negotiations for AB 1194, we were very clear that the increased workload would likely result in a fee increase. I don't think that that's going to be a surprise to the legislature in the spring. But I can forward along that 2018 report. I realize that the information will be outdated, but the 2023 report is fairly, obviously it's updated, but it's providing almost all the same information, just updated.
Rebecca, this is Wendy Hatch. I have a quick question for you. I don't want to know the names, but can you tell us what professions or people in their capacity actually make up the committee for the sunset review?
So I'm sorry, I don't know exactly who.
Well, I mean, are there
committee now? But it would be the Senate.
Well, I'm sure that there's representatives from the Department of Consumer Affairs, but is the profession, are professional fiduciaries actually represented on the committee, and what other professions would be?
No, so it's the legislators that sit on the Senate Business and Professions Committee, and then the assembly members that sit on the Assembly Business and Professions Committee. So it's quite a few at this. It's probably like 25 members altogether. I'm sure Daryl probably knows exactly who sits on there. I don't know that there are any legislators that are licensees. I do know and anticipate that PFAC will participate for sure in the sunset process, not as a deliberating party, but I'm sure that, PFAC, of course, they lobby for.
This is the moderator. I apologize for interrupting you, Rebecca. If you can get closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, I don't know that any of the legislators are licensees. I don't think that they are. And they deal with all the professions outside of professional fiduciaries. And of course, there's a lot of overlap between the different professions under the Department of Consumer Affairs. As I was saying, I think I would imagine that Jerry Desmond and PFAC will be really engaged in that sunset process and provide their input on behalf of licensees. And then we will be there with the department advocating on behalf of the Bureau. Yeah,
this is legal, if I may. Committee head, is that appropriate? May I proceed?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca, or Miss May, I'm sorry, we can barely hear you. So I did want to confirm that the question was clearly answered, that the members who make up the Sunset Committee are actually our legal representatives on the Senate and Assembly that review on behalf of the legislature.
Correct. Sorry that my mic is so low. I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, it's the legislators. They're the legislators. I don't know that any of them are licensees of our bureau.
This is Chi Elder. And I think you guys are doing a great job, Rebecca. You know, I think I can just speak for myself. I just want to make sure that the Sunset Review Committee is aware of how small the licensees are for this particular bureau compared to others. And so for them, you know, for that fee to be a flat fee across all the different boards and bureaus, you know, be something for them to consider. And to just raise the awareness, or as a reminder of how small, you know, the licensee is, you know, for this bureau compared to others. I think that's really important, you know, because you know, as you said, that the bureau has been fiscally responsible and has operated responsibly. And so, you know, and this is, you know, the new law is something that would change, you know, those operations, or at least the fiscal management of it, beyond, you know, what you're able to do. And to be able to, or to, the only option currently in passing those increases along to the licensees, or, you know, applicants, may not be feasible, or may prevent barriers to entry, you know, for new licensees or those considering entering the profession. And especially if we're trying to increase the diversity, equity, inclusion, you know, we want to make sure that we're doing it, you know, our actions will be more inclusive. And so, you know, I think that's just important to just, you know, ensure that that committee is aware of, you know, how small this bureau is. Thank you.
So thank you. The report's not final yet. And so I'm not like 100% sure that everything that was written will be in the final version, but we definitely are very clear about the limited resources that the Bureau has throughout the report. And that's not something we could hide, even if we wanted to hide. They know personnel numbers and all the expenditures and all the revenue. It's all plainly as part of the report. So it's maybe 4 weeks from now that the report will be public. It'll go on the website. I will email it to all the advisory committee members, and we'll also of course put it up to the interested parties list so that everyone can take a look at the report.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, just one more thing, Chi Elder, and I think maybe also remind them that the target population being served by licensees are the most vulnerable population. And so, you know, having this bureau and the licensees is critical to ensuring that that vulnerable population is served and protected. Thank you.
This is Denise Nelson. I'd like to echo that last comment. Plus, there's an enormous expectation in the public about what this bureau should be doing. And, you know, I think that's another element to it. People have great expectations of this small and mighty team. And I think the legislature should also see that and keep that in mind.
Any other comments from committee members? Okay, I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from any individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type comment in the text field that appears. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking on the send button. For those calling in, you can press *3 from your phone to raise your virtual hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you so much,
Actually,
Rebecca. Oh,
sorry, last minute.
No problem.
A second. Let me turn on here my timer. Give me just a second, and I will be giving a 30-second warning before the time is up. Wendy Smith, I sent a request to unmute your microphone. And Wendy, your microphone has been unmuted. From the microphone button, the down-facing arrow, if you click on it, thank you. We have the instructions are on the screen, Wendy. If you click on that arrow and you can select different microphones, sometimes it gets glitchy, and just select any other microphone listed under microphone options. And then try speaking. Another option could be if you would like to type it in the Q&A box, your actual comment. And make sure, Wendy, if you can please get close to the microphone. I know WebEx has the background noise cancellation.
This is legal. Also, Ms. Smith can type in, I need to type my comment so that we know she's able to respond.
Thank you. I have the comment in the Q&A. May I read it, Committee Chair?
Yes, please. Thank you.
The comment is, or the question, I have noticed a higher increase in public reaching out to pro-FIDs as they don't want to burden family members or friends. No further requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
If we could Ms. Smith verify that her comment is complete, since we're having to do it via typing?
Thank you. Yes, this is the moderator. Wendy Smith, if you can type in the Q&A whether your comment was complete. I'm going to read the response, which is, yes, it is. I just think pro-FIDs are being used more and more by the public, and this should be noted in the sunset report.
This is legal. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Rebecca. Item number 11 of the agenda. Rebecca, would you please read the status of the Bureau's proposed rulemakings?
Thank you. So I am pleased to let the advisory committee and public know that the Office of Administrative Law approved the Bureau's proposed inactive and retired license status regulation on October 25th. So starting January 1, 2023, the Bureau will be offering inactive and retired license statuses to licensees who qualify. Bureau staff is working to ensure information on how to apply, and the related application forms will be up on the website in the coming days. Once the Bureau is able to start accepting applications, an email will go out to the interested parties list. Getting this regulation past the finish line has been a long time coming and would not have happened without the hard work of Alexander Millington, our regulatory attorney with the Department of Consumer Affairs, and Angela Quadra, our program analyst. Additionally, Angela has been instrumental to ensuring the Bureau is prepared to implement this new regulation. I am incredibly grateful to both of them. Thank you. The cultural competency regulation is nearing completion as well. The Bureau filed a final rulemaking package with the Office of Administrative Law on November 29th and anticipates OAL will approve the regulation by mid-January. The text for both regulations, along with supporting documents, can be found on the Bureau's website, and I'll continue to provide updates as they come. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment from committee members? I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field, and those who are calling in, press *3 to raise your hand. Also, if you are logged in and prefer to raise your hand virtually, hover your cursor or mouse over your name and the outline of a hand will appear. Click on that outline to raise your hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Rebecca. Moving on to item number 12 of the agenda. Rebecca, will you please conduct the election for chair and vice chair for the 2023 calendar year?
So agenda item number 12, election of the 2023 committee officers. So nominations are open for the position of chair. Would anyone like to make a nomination for chair?
This is Chi Elder. I would like to make a nomination. For chair, I would like to nominate Bertha Sanchez Hayden, please.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for chair? Is there any discussion by the members? All right, we'll close the nominations. Angela, could you please conduct a vote by roll call for chair?
This is legal, if I may. Did the nominated party accept the nomination?
This is Bertha Sanchez Hayden. I accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you.
Probably good information to get before we press ahead. Thank you. Angela, can you please conduct a vote by roll call?
Yes. So if, as I call your name, if you'll let me know if you are in favor of electing Bertha Sanchez Hayden for chair of the year 2023. Chi Elder?
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden?
Yes.
Wendy Hatch?
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa?
Yes.
Denise Nellison?
Yes.
Okay, so we have all 6 members are in favor of electing Bertha Sanchez Hayden for the year of 2023.
Did you,
23, excuse me.
did you ask Jim Moore?
Did
I'll
thought I
say
did.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry if I skipped you.
This is legal, if I may. I do apologize. Technically, before the vote was taken, we should have asked for public comment as well. So we will just pause on announcing whether or not the vote passed to see if there's any public comment. If there is no public comment, we will go ahead and pass the vote. If there is public comment, we will retake the vote.
Thank you. That makes sense. And thank you for reminding us. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending the meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field that appears, and make sure it goes to all panelists before hitting the send button. Those who are calling in can press *3 from their phone to raise their virtual hand. I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
Okay, so with legal counsel's approval, since we did not have any public comment, I will announce that there was, the motion is carried by a majority vote, and the new chair for the 2023 calendar year will be Bertha Sanchez Hayden.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. Rebecca, will you please conduct the election for the vice chair for the 2023 calendar year?
Moving on to the position of vice chair, would anyone like to make a nomination for vice chair?
Yes, this is Chi Elder. I would like to make a nomination for vice chair, please. I would like to nominate Denise Nelson as the vice chair for the 2023 calendar year.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Is there any discussion by the members? Including Denise Nelson?
I accept if that's what you want to hear.
We're trying to keep it smooth since we learned some lessons from the chair discussion just a moment ago. So the nominations are closed. Is now a good time for public comment, legal counsel?
It is always a good time for public comment.
I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field that appears, and make sure it sends to all panelists. For those calling in, can press *3 from their phone to raise their virtual hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
Angela, can you please call a roll call?
Yes, so again, as we did with the chair, an answer of yes would be in favor of electing Denise Nelson as vice chair for the 2023 calendar year. So Chi Elder?
Yes.
Bertha Sanchez Hayden?
Yes.
Wendy Hatch?
Yes.
Elizabeth Ichikawa?
Yes.
James Moore?
Yes.
And Denise Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, great. So all of the members have voted in favor of Denise Nelson as vice chair. So the motion is carried by a majority vote, and the new vice chair for 2023 is Denise Nelson. Thank you.
And thank you, Rebecca and Angela. And congratulations to Bertha, our new chair for the 2023 calendar year, and Denise, our new vice chair for the 2023 calendar year. Moving on to agenda item 13. Angela, what items would you do you have recorded from our meeting today for consideration to be included on future agendas?
I actually have not recorded anything specific. Of course, we'll listen again to the recording so that we can make sure to follow up with all the budget questions that were asked.
Okay,
Is there anything that I may have missed or anything that anybody would like to add?
If there are no other items the committee members would like to add, are there any other items staff would like to add?
And so I do want to add one thing, and maybe it can be folded into the legislative update. But I think it would probably be good for the Bureau, and sometimes I do it during my update, for me to report on how we're implementing legislation. I think it's always kind of peppered throughout, but I thought it might be a good idea to draw that out a little more specifically in the next agenda.
Thank you. Any other items from committee or staff? I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from any individual attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square. Type comment in the text field. Make sure it goes to all panelists. Those who are calling in can press *3 from their phone to raise their virtual hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Angela. And then moving on to item number 14. The following meeting dates have been scheduled for 2023. If you have a conflict with any of these proposed dates, please contact Angela Quadra. Do we have any comment from committee members? This is Chielder. I would like to take this opportunity to comment and also acknowledge the Bureau's hard work and support throughout this year. There's a lot of work and preparation that goes into each of these meetings. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you for it. I know it may feel like a thankless job sometimes, but you know, I'm aware of how much work is put into this and ensuring that this goes as smoothly as possible, and just also you know, just the work that you do throughout the year to serve this, you know, the most vulnerable population. And this would not have been possible and successful without your leadership, Rebecca, and without the Bureau's team, you know, Angela and the rest of the Bureau team. You know, thank you all. I also want to thank the Senate Rules Committee for appointing me to represent the committee as a public member for the last couple of years, and thank the committee for electing me to chair for these last 2 years. It's been such an honor to serve in this capacity, and I've learned so much throughout this time. And I want to also thank the advisory committee for volunteering your time and your expertise to serve as well. Thank you.
Ms. Elder, thank you so much for the kind comments about the Bureau and the staff. Thank you so much for being our chairwoman and our fearless leader this year on the advisory committee. I really appreciated gleaning your insights, understanding, of course, of what the Bureau is up against. I have a tiny but wonderful team, and so that is just incredible in and of itself. And thank you so much to all the advisory committee members. I really genuinely enjoy. Hope that I'll reapply for appointment again. And I thank you for spending your time the Bureau in this way. Much appreciated, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. I will now ask the moderator to call for public comments from individuals attending this meeting via WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field that appears. Make sure it goes to all panelists before clicking send. For those who are calling in, press *3 to raise your virtual hand. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator. And thank you, Rebecca, again, and the team and everyone. I would like to call this meeting to an end, and the meeting is adjourned at 11:37 a.m. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you, Chi.
Thank you.